welcome back to Allison Rushin Crafts. Today I'm going to show you how I made this little card, but I'm going to try and step it up a little bit and just put a little twist on it. It's actually a card that I cased from the main catalogue, the new one, page 174, card they've got in there. So I thought I made it myself. I changed it up. These are a mix of last year's in colours. They're still available, but they're last year's in colours, and on my version I used all this year's new in colours on it. So I'm going to show you how I created it, as I say, just with a little extra twist, and we're just going to ramp it up a little bit. So bear with me just one moment and let's get going. Okay, so for this card you're going to need, I've used thick Whisper White cardstock, A4 sheet, cut through the centre lengthwise and scored at 14.8 to make our card base. I've got a piece of the Fluid 100 watercolour paper. This is actually a scrap. I messed up stamping on this, so I'm just going to stamp on this side because we're going to watercolour it, so you're not going to show through. So if ever you do this, don't throw your scraps away or the little bits that you may do wrong, because you can always just turn them over and save it for another project another day, which I've done here. You're going to need a scrap of either copier paper or a little bit of thin card like I've got here. You want it to be just over the length of your card, so it's going to be 15 centimetres roughly is the max that you should need, but somewhere around there or more. I'm going to be using ink pads today. Is the Magenta Madness, Misty Moonlight and the Bumblebee. I've got a die cut that I'm going to use from the World Map dies. That's already cut out. We're going to use the Bricks Mortar 3D Embossing Folder, and the stamps that I've chosen for this one, I'm going to use You Make the World a Better Place, and we're going to use one of the world maps, and we're going to emboss that with clear embossing powder and then watercolour it. So you'll also need scraps of that's my little bit left over from making the first one, but any of the little offcuts and scraps that you've got of cardstock, if you just trim them down into little pieces like this and just have a good assortment of colours, and then I'll show you how we put all that together. Right, let's get going. Right, first off we're going to start with the things that need to dry and going to take a little while. So with your piece of watercolour paper, I'm going to use the Versamark ink pad, and we're just going to give it a really good inking, and then stamp it straight down. I'm going to hold for a little while because it's the watercolour paper. Just make sure it's imprinted properly. And then I keep all my clear embossing powder in one little tub just for convenience, and just sprinkle it over. And we're going to leave this. We're actually going to emboss this a couple of times. If you just bear with me, I'll just get my heat gun. You can't really see anything on here. It's just going clear on the white. I'm going to switch that off, and really quickly I'm going to, oh, without it all falling everywhere, I'm going to put some more powder on top again. Same again. Just going to make it a little bit deeper embossing. There we go. And you probably can't see that on there. I don't think you can. Right, let's just pop that away, and then all will become clear. throwing everything everywhere. Right, this is where we need our ink pads now. And I'm just going to pop them open. I've always given them a little squeeze. Just a gentle one like that, and then you can get a little bit of the ink in the lid. Oh, sorry. Whacking the camera here. And let's get the Magenta Madness open. And then I'm going to just take a watercolour brush, drop a little bit of water in the pad, and I am going to need some kitchen roll as I'm doing this. And then looking at where I want my colour to come in, I'm just going to lay, and you've got this resist going on here at the top, and just painting. You can take it off and around the edges a little bit, it just gives it a little bit of dimension. There we go. Rinse clear, and then we're going to come in with the magenta, and it's gone down quite strong around there. And obviously if you want it to be a little bit more fluid, just add a little bit more water to it. If you need to take off a little, there we go, and just rinse brush. I didn't bring any water out with me, I think I'll use this one for the yellow. And then with the bumblebee, I'm going to go in up and just spread some around the top up here. And obviously where you've got your colours blending slightly, you're going to get that lovely mix. A little bit of greens coming in there. Down. If you want it slightly stronger, just go in with a little bit more. A couple of places. There we go. I'll just dab out a little bit of excess. I think we'll go in with a bit more. Excuse me. Blue, just to make it a bit stronger. There we go. Dab it out a little. Right. I'm just going to close these up and let them dry. I can think about it because they sit up that way anyway, so that's not going to hurt. Excuse me. I've got froggy in my throat today. Really wet and miserable the last few days here, so it's not that warm. Right, so that's all we need to do on that for the moment. Let's just leave that to dry, and then I can see what I've done with my paper. Oh, I'm done with it. There we go. Right, the embossing folder. Okay, so the front of the card this time, I'm going to put a layer on it. This one was just a single layer card straight onto it like that. So I'm going to put an insert layer on this time. So just using a piece of Whisper White cardstock that's cut 14.4 by 10 centimetres. I'm going to put it in the... Nope, I'm going to stamp it first. Oh, nearly got it in the wrong order then. Stamp it with my sentiment, because what I want it to, what I'm hoping it will look like once I've inked it up and stamped it, I want it fairly high up there. Sorry if my head's getting in the way. Hopefully that's straight. Yeah, that'll do. I want it to sort of look a bit like graffiti, because I'm going to use the wall embossing folder. So I need to line that up. I want it so that the wall is sticking out, so there's actually a line there on the embossing folder that you can line it up with to try and get it all nice and straight. That looks lovely to me. Right, there we are. Take that out. Well, that looks pretty well embossed to me. Let's leave those up there. I just need to put those out of the way, bear with me. Right, I've just trimmed down a little bit of me copy paper, or a little thin strip of cardstock. You want it to be at least 15 centimetres long, so you can ensure you've got enough to cover your card, and sort of inch and a half wide, and then taking all the little offcuts that you've got. And then I've got the snail, we've got the new seal coming soon. I'm just going to get it up the right way to get it to run. Just going to do a couple of lines of snail for roughly how long I want it, and go a little bit over. I've got, you want to make sure it's covered because you obviously want it to stay down. There we go. And then we're going to start placing our little pieces. Now I'm going to put them at a diagonal. Ooh, without dropping them. Ooh, do stick quite well. Start on the diagonal at the top, and just randomly place pieces on in the order that you want them. We're going to trim this out, so short ones and longer ones don't matter so much. You want to butt them up nice and tight, and there's no particular order. I'm not doing a completely repeating pattern, just putting them in an order that I like the look of. And I've got to cut these all sort of different sizes as well, which is quite nice. Have them a little bit more random. Put another one of those in. A little bit more of the pink. And just keep going until you've filled up the complete strip. So another magenta down the bottom. So these colours is the Magenta Madness, the Bumblebee, Misty Moonlight, Cinnamon Cider, and the Just Jade, which is the new in colours. So we've now got that covered, and I am just going to give a little burnish just to make sure they're all down nice and tight on there. And taking my trimmer, our background is 14.9, so I need a strip that's going to be 14.9 in length. So let's start about 15 there. that to the... we need to get a straight edge, otherwise we're not going to be able to do that. To see where your thinnest part there is going to be. And then take it up to the about 14.9. You might need to trim off a little bit when you actually put it on, because obviously that's been embossed and it takes up a little bit of the length. And again, look at your longest one. These blues are actually a little bit short, but should be able to... slightly thinner strip than the last one. Let's move that out of the way. More scraps. As you can see now, I'm going to have that going down there. Right, let's go on and stick that. So you need to work out whether I want a little bit of the green in the bottom or finish on the yellow. I'll do a little bit, half and half each. I'm going to use a Tombow for this, and a fair bit there. A nice little edge. Find out, make sure it's straight. I'm just going to trim off these tiny little bits. Same again there. Oops. And that's, we're going to layer it up on there. Again, a little bit extra glue because of the embossing folder, just so it captures it, that I would normally use. Just line that up. Okay, pop that to one side. And then we've got a little folder's going to go on there. And I do have the die for this, but because it's so small, you can just follow it. I'm literally going to fussy cut it out, nice and simple. It's not really going to show. To work with a smaller piece. Do you do this? You always go quiet when you start fussy cutting. It's the concentration. There we go. That's good enough. Won't need it for. And now we just need to stick that onto there. Again, tiny bit of glue. Something to weigh him down a little bit, I think, to get him to stay. And I'm just going to put the bottom onto that little outer edge that I did, that I cut. There we go. Bring back in one of our die stamps. I'm just going to leave that on there to dry just for a minute. Let's get some dimensionals ready, just so we can pop them up a little bit. Got some thin ones for the bottom. Okay. Oops, switched my paper a little bit. I thought we might ooze a little bit. Nice thin bit to go in there. Put these there. Right, big one in the middle. You want a few on this, mainly because it's the watercolour paper, so it is a bit thicker and you do get that tiny bit of warping. So just make sure you've got it really secured down. Fluffy bits coming off. It's coming off my jumper. Can't do fluffy bits. Go away, fluff. Oh, and those. Help on that. And I think about there. Looking good. Right, on this one I had I used a little bit of blue twine on there, baker's twine. I didn't have any blue baker's twine. I've only got some of the old Whisper White, so I actually coloured this using the blends, but it took a little while to dry. So I think for this one I'm just going to pop a little go like this. Sadly this one's retired now, but we've got a lot of new ones in the catalogue that are equally as lovely and will go on here beautifully. But for this card, turn it around while I tie a little bow just at the top. Slightly gluey fingers. Right. So I'm going to go a little bit tighter. Oops. A little twist. I'm not the world's greatest bow tire. Need to practice a bit more. I think that's okay. There we go, I think that's okay. Oh, looks nice with the white as well. And there we go, that's the one that we've used the embossing folder on. A little bit of, looks like brick wall graffiti. And that's the simpler one cased from the catalogue. Fluffy bits on, sorry about that. There we go. I hope you enjoyed that. If there's any other products that you've liked today and would like to purchase any of them, you can pop on over to my shop at allisonrushin.stampinup.net, where I'll be happy to take your orders if you require anything. Thank you for watching. See you again soon. Bye.